the latest zombie blockbuster of 2023, Island Escape, has finally arrived. This film is not only packed with suspense but also involves a time loop, somewhat reminiscent of a zombie version of a horror cruise. Without further ado, let's dive into the story. A man wakes up in a helicopter, feeling an urgent need to relieve himself. He decides to step out of the aircraft to take a leak. However, just as he's happily doing his business, a strange figure appears from the side. The man notices that the person in front of him has blood all over their face. Before he can react, the figure collapses right in front of him. Alarmed, he rushes back to the helicopter and retrieves a handgun. While cautiously surveying his surroundings, he suddenly spots an identical handgun lying on the ground. He was puzzled. A drop of liquid fell on his ear. Realizing something, he quickly turns his head and finds a fierce zombie staring at him. The zombie raises its hand and slaps the man, then proceeds to snap his neck. The zombie then boards the helicopter. Just as the zombie was about to take off, the aircraft appeared to collide with something in the sky and then exploded into pieces. A few days later, a mercenary team is flying in a helicopter toward a small island. It's a private island owned by a company called TSL Pharmaceuticals. This company has been researching ways to improve human defense systems and perform genetic enhancement surgeries on soldiers. 2 days ago, an accident occurred at the research center on the island. Coincidentally, Stacey, the daughter of the CEO of TSL, was on the island at the time. The island's communication systems are all damaged, so the CEO has hired a 6-person team to find his daughter. The helicopter quickly arrives at the island, and the mercenary team splits into 2 groups to search for Stacey, leaving the pilot behind. Addison leads one team, and they soon make a discovery not far from where they started. They find a gruesome corpse hidden in the bushes, identified as one of the island's staff members. Addison tries to contact the other team for information, but all they hear is static on the radio. Dex diligently records everything in his notebook. Another team member, Chase, is puzzled by the strange condition of the corpse. He asks Addison about it, but she shakes her head, indicating she knows just as much as he does. They continue their journey. The other team follows the riverbank. Russ, the team leader, finds a rope near the river and becomes lost in thought, sensing a familiarity with the surroundings. As Addison's team ventures deeper into the island, they encounter more and more corpses. Inside a tent, they find another lifeless body but no other clues. Addison opens the communication device in the tent, attempting to contact Russ's team, but there's still no response. Dex just found a wristwatch on one of the corpses, which is identical to the one he's wearing. Chase tells Dex not to dwell on it, suggesting it might be a mere coincidence. On the other side, the pilot guarding the helicopter suddenly felt an urgent need to urinate. Unable to get in touch with either team, he decided to go and relieve himself, which led to the scene at the beginning of the video. Chase and Dex, who were on guard outside the tent, suddenly heard faint sounds coming from the sparse woods. Armed with guns, the two cautiously approached to investigate.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot, please! Please!
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Gareth Young. I'm a researcher with TSL.
What happened here?
I don't know. I got here right before you did and saw this.
Dr. Young claimed to be a staff member from TSL, having arrived on the island earlier than the teams. The tragedy had already occurred when he arrived here. Dr. Young informed them that he knew the whereabouts of Stacey. However, upon seeing Stacey, the team was stunned. Stacey was lying on the ground with half of his face bloody and obviously dead. After all the work the team had done, the target was already dead. With nightfall approaching, Addison decided to camp here until dawn before proceeding to the rendezvous point. During the evening, Dr. Young and Dex engaged in casual conversation, learning each other's names. Dr. Young suddenly became excited and rushed back to the tent to retrieve a notebook. Dex, comparing it with his own, discovered that they were identical, down to the signatures and handwriting. The only difference was that Dr. Young's notebook contained more information. Dex couldn't figure out why there were 2 copies of his notebook. As they speculated on this mystery, an unexpected incident occurred with the other team. Russ, Tag, and Colt were by the fire when they heard the breath of a wild beast nearby. Reacting swiftly, they readied their guns. In the next moment, Tag was forcefully dragged away by something. Russ hurriedly pursued and managed to save Tag, but Colt, who was alone, fell victim to the creature. Strangely, the creature bore a striking resemblance to Colt. Through discussion, they realized that the key to the mystery lay in the notebooks. The extra content in Dr. Young's notebook stated that Stacey would come back to life the following day. However, when they went to verify it the next day, they were shocked by what they witnessed. Stacey had actually come back to life.
Impossible.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Russ and Tag reached the campsite at the southern part of the island. Upon entering and inspecting the area, they found it empty, devoid of any people. Russ picked up the walkie-talkie from the table and, to his surprise, it connected this time.
Hey, Russ?
Addison informed them that they had found Stacey. Russ and Tag breathed a sigh of relief. The sacrifices of their teammates were not in vain. They had at least accomplished their mission. After being comforted by Dex, Stacey finally revealed what had happened. Their research team had arrived on the island 3 days ago. They discovered a barrier that prevented them from leaving once they entered the island. The most terrifying part was the outbreak of a virus among them. The infected individuals lost their sanity and mercilessly slaughtered those who had not undergone mutation. Stacey and her colleagues were brutally murdered, but she was unsure how she had managed to come back to life. Dr. Young had found answers for Stacey at that moment. He discovered several notebooks belonging to Dex that contained information they had yet to experience. The diary described the island as being surrounded by wormholes. The events happening here seemed to cycle every 3 days. In other words, every 3 days, another version of themselves would enter the island, repeating the mission to rescue Stacey. Chase was puzzled why they hadn't encountered themselves from 3 days ago. Dr. Young explained that they likely had all turned into corpses. The previous versions of themselves would not survive beyond 3 days due to the virus that had engulfed the island. Outside, Stacey and Dex suddenly heard a roar. Dex immediately raised his pistol, preparing for danger. As he approached the target, a figure appeared behind him. The hissing of the zombies reached the tent and they immediately reached for their pistols. Dr. Young suspected that the slaughter of this round of people was about to begin. As expected, Russ and Tag were also attacked, and Dr. Young's words were quickly verified.
What the hell?
The zombies that attacked them looked exactly like themselves. Russ quickly realized the situation and unhesitatingly fired his gun, but the zombies were unfazed by the bullets. Tag's ammunition quickly ran out, and as another zombie lunged at him, Tag drew his knife and engaged in a grueling hand-to-hand fight. On the other side, Russ seized the opportunity to pick up a pistol from the ground and blasted off the zombie's head with a single shot. Simultaneously, Addison and Chase also encountered zombies. Upon seeing the faces of the zombies, they froze. Chase failed to react in time and was grabbed by a zombie, while Addison decisively eliminated her opponent with a single shot. They then worked together to dispose of another group of zombies. The mercenary team had just managed to deal with the first wave of zombies when another unexpected event occurred. Dex had just returned to Stacey's side when he noticed her body starting to contort in a bizarre manner. Stacey's bones creaked and crackled, and soon she transformed into a horrifying zombie. Dex was frozen in fear by the scene unfolding before him. As the zombie relentlessly clawed at Dex's eyes, a gunshot rang out, and Stacey collapsed to the ground. It was Chase who had arrived just in time. However, it was too late. Dex had already died. With the sun about to set, Russ attempted to contact headquarters once again. This time, they finally received a response. Russ quickly informed them that they had found Stacey and requested immediate assistance. However, to their dismay, they were informed that Stacey was already dead, and the rescue window had closed.
I'd like to thank you for your services. Unfortunately, we've come to the decision to part ways with the current circuit. The island's destruction sequence will occur in approximately 12 hours. Again, the company thanks you for your services.
Wait, no! Wait!
The call abruptly ended, leaving them to fend for themselves. Tag relayed the decision from headquarters to Addison. It finally dawned on them that they had become part of the company's experiment when they set foot on the island. They were merely pawns in the larger scheme. Now, their only option was to find a way to save themselves. At this point, Russ's memory seems to have returned. He remembered that he came to this island a few years ago, and the mission he carried out at that time was exactly the same as the one he is carrying out now. And in the end he found a boat and escaped from here. However, upon leaving the island, he lost all his memories. Russ distinctly remembered entering the island on September 26, 2023, and when he escaped, he found himself back in 2021. Now, it was once again September 26, 2023, and they found themselves back on the island. Carrying out the same mission, Dr. Young speculated that the time anomaly was likely caused by the wormhole, as he had come across confidential documents within the company regarding research on wormholes and time. Regardless, in order to leave the island, they needed to find the same boat Russ had used to escape all those years ago. Thus, the two teams split up the next day to search for it. According to Russ's vague recollection, Addison and their team successfully reached the location of the boat. Inside, they found an ample supply of gasoline that would be sufficient to reach the coastline. However, Russ and Tag faced more challenges along their path. Several zombies attacked them, and despite their best efforts, they ran out of bullets and resorted to hand-to-hand combat. The zombies' strength surpassed theirs, and Russ was knocked down by a zombie. Tag rushes forward to help, but he is also crushed by his mutated self, and is finally bitten on the neck by the zombies. By the time Russ got rid of the zombies and came to his rescue, Tag was already dead. Russ had no time to mourn as another zombie appeared behind him. He turned his head to see a mutated version of himself slowly raising his pistol, just as the zombies were about to fire. Chase arrived just in time. They were about to regroup with the others when a zombie suddenly charged at Russ, knocking him aside. When Chase took down the zombie, he discovered that a wooden spike from a tree had pierced Russ's body. The explosion that destroyed the island had already begun. Russ knew that he was hopeless and told Chase to leave him alone. Seeing the other party's firm attitude, Chase had to give Russ the gun on the ground and then turned around to leave. Meanwhile, Dr. Young saw that the explosion was about to come this way, and Addison had to wait for a few people to come back before he left. So he picked up a pair of pipe wrench.
I really didn't want to do this.
Just as Dr. Young was about to set sail, Chase rushed over and, in the nick of time, grabbed the rope on the boat. Addison on the boat also regained consciousness. As the small boat approached the wormhole, Dr. Young unexpectedly underwent a mutation. Since Dr. Young arrived on the island a day earlier than the others, he mutated a day in advance. While the mutated Dr. Young attacked Addison, a bullet suddenly pierced through his head. It turned out that Russ on the island had come to their aid at the last moment. The two men on the boat had no time to celebrate as they got closer and closer to the wormhole. With a flash of light, the boat and they all disappeared. When Chase was rescued ashore, he had lost all his memories. Addison, on the other hand, found himself back on the island before its destruction. In San Francisco, another Addison approaches Chase to join him on a mission to rescue Stacey, the daughter of a tycoon, on an island.
Yeah,